Welcome to This Explainer. Go ahead, reach into your pocket, or just picture a dollar bill in your mind for a second. For your entire life, you've probably been told that this little piece of paper is backed by the strongest government on Earth, right? Like a safe anchor in a totally crazy world. But hidden possibilities suggest that the very word federal, printed right across the top, well, it might just be the first of many carefully crafted deceptions. So what if the institution actually controlling that money isn't at all what it claims to be?
I mean, is the system truly federal? Hidden News reveals this institution might not be federal at all, and it's definitely not a normal bank where you or I can just walk in and deposit our hard-earned cash. Even wilder is the theory that it literally holds zero actual cash reserves to back the currency it just creates out of thin air. We're looking at an illusion so grand it's somehow convinced the entire globe it's completely real.
Some believe we are actually watching a shadow entity, an entirely independent force operating completely outside the reach, the influence, and the oversight of the Oval Office. Just think about the gravity of that for a second. We're talking about arguably the most powerful central bank in human history, manipulating the world's reserve currency at will, dictating the financial heartbeat of entire nations, all while hiding behind this very convincing veil of government authority.
Which brings us to the illusion of control.
For years, you see, the markets held steady under this specific spell, the perceived cooperation between the president and the Fed. But a new figure has entered the chamber, completely shattering that peace. The president basically demanded what many called a sock puppet. You know, an obedient ally, willing to print endless money and slash interest rates down to a mere 1%, just to keep the economic machine humming along. But the man he handpicked for the job, Kevin Warsh, he stood his ground. Hidden possibilities suggest this completely unexpected defiance has set the stage for an unprecedented economic showdown between absolute political desire and strict monetary independence.
His defiance was actually captured in an absolute declaration right inside the Senate. He said, "I will not be the president's sock puppet, and the Fed will stay strictly independent." Let me tell you, that exact phrase sent immediate, violent shockwaves through the financial elite. The illusion of a unified front? Yeah, it completely dissolved in that single sentence, revealing a massive fracture at the very top of the global financial order.
And that defiance forces a truly terrifying dilemma that directly impacts the money in your pocket right now. On one side, the Fed can choose to save the dollar, a move that would almost certainly break the broader economy, crushing businesses and stalling growth. Or, on the flip side, they could cave. They could pump the stock market to keep the wealthy happy and essentially kill the purchasing power of the currency. Honestly, it's kind of like choosing whether to jump out of a crashing plane without a parachute or just stay strapped in and politely ask the ground to move out of the way. Both options spell absolute disaster for everyday wealth.
But then, the ghost returns. Kevin Warsh's warning is echoing once again. Because Hidden News reveals that Kevin Warsh isn't just some newcomer who stumbled into the spotlight. Actually, he's a ghost from the past. During the catastrophic 2008 financial crisis, when literally everyone else was panicking, Warsh was the lone dissenter in the room. He actively warned that reckless money printing would ultimately lead to hyperinflation and the dollar's destruction. While the rest of the world celebrated the temporary relief of stimulus checks, he predicted the long-term devastation we're starting to witness today. And now, in 2026, that ghost has returned to take the helm.
But here is a number you absolutely must understand: 12. Because despite Warsh's dramatic return to lead this incredibly powerful institution, he's still only one man. There are 12 voting members at the Federal Reserve. His voice, no matter how resolute, is just a single echo in a highly secretive, heavily guarded room.
It all comes down to the math of power. To actually change the trajectory of the world's economy, Warsh needs 7 votes. He needs a majority. And in this deeply divided room, filled with competing ideologies and hidden allegiances, that majority is far from guaranteed. It's like a massive financial chessboard, and right now, he's fighting for the very pieces he needs to execute his vision.
So I want to ask you directly, should they cut rates to please the president and keep the illusion alive, or do they fight the brutal 2026 inflation that is already crushing wages and making groceries totally unaffordable for the average family? Put yourself in that room. What would you sacrifice? The short-term comfort of the stock market or the long-term survival of our currency? The mystery deepens, though, because there is a shadow in the room, and the voting mechanics hold a dark secret. Hidden possibilities suggest a massive twist in this saga. The man they all said was gone is actually still watching from the shadows.
Jerome Powell may have stepped down from his highly visible role as chair, but he never truly left. He remains a profoundly powerful voting member within that group of 12. He is the literal shadow in the room, quietly observing the new regime while holding on to a critical piece of the voting puzzle.
We call this the blockade. Some believe that even while sitting under the heavy cloud of a criminal investigation, Powell retains the absolute voting power to block the president's demands. He has the leverage to stall Warsh's plans, causing this quiet, unseen internal civil war that threatens to tear the whole institution apart from the inside out.
And man, this internal civil war comes at the absolute worst possible moment in American history. $39 trillion. That is the national debt. That's a figure so astronomically large it almost defies human comprehension. To put that into perspective, it's ticking upward relentlessly every single second of every day. While the men in the shadows fight for control, this staggering weight threatens to completely collapse the floor beneath them. It's not the military or infrastructure that's draining the nation's funds anymore. The fastest growing government expense is simply the interest on this massive debt. It's a fiery trap. We are shoveling unimaginable wealth into a furnace just to pay for the privilege of owing money, starving every other vital sector of the economy in the process.
Which brings us to the global reaction. Hidden possibilities suggest that global trust is violently fracturing right now. Economic giants like China and Japan, once the absolute most reliable buyers of American paper promises, are actively walking away. They're bracing for what comes next, quietly trading the illusion of paper for the cold hard certainty of physical gold. The world is securing its lifeboats while the captains argue over the steering wheel.
All of this tension is accelerating toward a June reckoning. Hidden news reveals that the timeline for this economic climax is much, much shorter than anyone realizes. The true reckoning isn't some vague event years down the line. No, it's set for the very next Fed meeting, June 17th. On this specific day, all the theoretical debates, the hidden votes, and the massive political pressures are going to collide in a single room.
Some believe that on this date, Warsh will finally reveal his definitive strategy. First, unequivocally reject the era of easy money. Second, establish a brutal regime change within the institution's philosophy. And finally, save the dollar at all absolute costs, even if it intentionally triggers a severe economic crash. It's basically a desperate surgical procedure designed to cut out the rot, knowing full well that the patient is going to scream in pain.
The era of easy money, of endless bailouts, and manipulated stock rallies is ending. The secret, independent entity is reclaiming its throne, proving to the entire globe that it is perhaps the only power on Earth that can look the President of the United States and the world's financial markets dead in the eye and simply say, no.
As we wrap up this explainer into the shadows of our financial system, I really want to leave you with a profound thought. If the illusion shatters, if the dollar truly falls under the weight of this invisible war, where will you stand? Are you prepared for a reality where the paper in your pocket loses its power? I encourage you to reflect on this hidden truth. The storm is gathering, and awareness is the only shelter we have.